What's up? I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast,
where we interview successful businessmen and women to let you in on why success doesn't have a single formula to follow.
We also have a little bourbon tasting along the way, because why not?
Why not?
So guys, please enjoy this episode and let us know your thoughts at Bourbon and Business Podcast on Instagram.
Coming to you from the Bourbon and Business Studio here at the AC Hotel in Ridgeland, Mississippi. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast. How you doing this morning, Dakota?
Fantastic, Tyler. How are you?
Doing good. Glad to see you on the morning again finally. We've been running some afternoon episodes.
I know. Those are crushing me.
Yeah. So now we're again drinking in the morning.
Thank goodness. It feels right. 8 a.m., about to taste some moonshine. I love it.
Well, you want to introduce our guests to us?
I do. Today we have a special guest, Elliott Godwin, founder of EG Integrations. Elliot, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you.
And let's go with our first sip.
Well, you want me to tell you what it is first?
Yeah, tell our listeners what it is.
So we've had some Purple Toad bourbon, and this is Purple Toad Moonshine, Kentucky Moonshine. It's a skull on the bottle. The lady who handed it to me on the side of the road said it was going to change my life. So,
well, when I took a sip of it, I heard Usher in the background singing "Let It Burn." So it's definitely a moonshine. I guarantee you this one will light up blue if you light it on fire. So, it's kind of hard to rate a moonshine. I've had a lot of moonshine in my day. Being from Mississippi, it's a common thing. I've had it locally distilled. So
how locally?
It doesn't have a label.
Backyard?
Yeah, mason jar locally. So I like it though. It says it's made with grapes, which, never made moonshine, so I don't know, but I don't think it's typically made with grapes. I think it's typically made with corn, from what I understand. So you can pick up the actual taste of the grape in it. So I'm about to land at 6.0.
Okay.
So,
I thought you were going to go way higher based on how you were describing
6.0. It's good. I don't, typically just drink moonshine. Just, it's not something I sip on usually.
That's fair.
6.0.
But we do want to thank our sponsor, Cheers Vineyard, who bring you the bourbon tastings every week. So thank you so much to Cheers Vineyard for your sponsorship on this podcast. And if you want a bottle of your own skull that you can have, you can empty it out and put it on your desk, I guess, if you wanted to have that kind of look. Go ahead to Cheers Vineyard in Gluckstadt, Mississippi, and get you a bottle.
Yeah. All right, Elliot. Well, we'd like to take the first part of this podcast. Just tell our listeners where you're from and then how you got to the point of founding EG Integrations.
Yeah. So right now we're out of Ozark, Missouri, so just south of Springfield, just north of Branson. I'm originally from Alabama. We grew up in Clanton, Alabama, so probably not too far from where y'all are at. EGI or EG Integrations has been going. We had our 1 year anniversary January 13th, so it's pretty exciting. Yeah, we started I started in college, seeing what was all coming out. We started in cybersecurity. Got into capture the flag competitions in college, and so with that, it's just taken quite a path to where we are now. From getting involved when ChatGPT 3.5 came out, we figured out we could write essays with it, and that was a big deal. We just haven't really stopped since then. So. Just keeping up with what's coming out and then kind of making that connection between what's new and then what businesses need. And so that's where we found our niche. And the rest is history.
So tell our listeners a little bit about, what is y'all's bread and butter there? If a business comes to y'all and you say, hey, we need your help, what things are that they need help with?
Absolutely. So our primary point of sale, our primary bread and butter is what we call an efficiency audit. And so we come in and play the role of solutions architect. And so we come in, map out the organization, identify key stakeholders, current software, current processes, what's happening with your data, what's happening with just your internal structure as a whole. And we take that and run it through a curriculum we developed about a year ago. And we're able to identify some issues, potential efficiencies, things like that. And we give the client what's called a postmortem. And in that postmortem, that's what it outlines. We outline easy wins, medium wins. And then also in that, we recommend a project, a development project that could take care of usually quite a few things we've identified. And that could be a custom development project like a mobile app, data analysis, a chat bot, anything like that. So we have a quite a robust engineering team. And if the client chooses to do that, then we kick that off, and that enables us to build custom solutions and custom software for the client that help make their business work better and faster.
So would you say you're like a software development company, or is it more than that?
Yes, interesting. So I guess we're still trying to figure that out ourselves. The need is so great, and we have figured out that the best thing to sell is clarity, and with clarity comes custom software. Sometimes there's so many tools out there that we've found our niche in a middle ground between a consulting firm, an AI consulting firm, tech consulting firm, whatever you want to call it, and a custom software agency.
Yeah, and I think one of the main problems businesses are running into right now is, of course, at this point, every business has a ton of software, but does the software communicate with each other? Does my CRM communicate with my, management system?
Or your pipeline platform.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we got you have data everywhere. How do we get that data all to communicate with each other and for it to be clean? I think is the biggest problem. Can you kind of speak to that for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So tech sprawl is a really big thing in what we're working with. So you've got all these tools that you see on Instagram and Facebook and hear about on different podcasts, and they're all great, but like you said, they don't talk to each other, and that's really the biggest problem of you're taking up your employees' time, you're taking up partners' time, your time, bouncing between these programs and manually editing things that should be talking together seamlessly. And so that's kind of where we exist. Sometimes it's making connections between programs that people didn't even know exist, and then sometimes it's building something that unifies all of them. But it's a very, very common problem.
Let's talk a little bit about AI. So the big thing right now.
I love where this is going.
And Dakota probably should be asking this question.
I can't wait for this.
So the AI, what do they call the AI agents right now that everybody's talking about? Hey, we've got this agent running in the background. It's learning to do these things. Really, like for someone like me that doesn't know that much about it, what are these agents and what can they do?
Dude.
Yeah,
fantastic question.
See, this is fun. I love it. So we'll say anything for sake of the conversation. It's really whatever you can think up and whatever tooling currently exists out there. So these agents, they're like the models that you talk to, like ChatGPT, these big models. They're like that, but smaller and operating in the background. So whatever tools you give it and whatever skills you give it, it can work with that. And so because it's becoming so mainstream, a lot of these big software companies are opening up their platforms to allow these agents to seamlessly communicate with them. So for example, you can talk about Slack and Stripe, the payment platform, Slack, a communication platform. Both of them are opening up their software to where these various agents can communicate with it. And so now you can have a personal agent, one of many in a business, whatever else, communicate between these and actually operate, whether it be sending an invoice, creating a payment link, messaging one of our developers, hey, this task isn't done, this client needs XYZ. So really the sky's the limit, and the more software that's out there that is opening up to work between these agents, the more we're going to see, the more capabilities these things are going to have.
Elliot, how hard is it to make an agent?
That's a loaded question. It depends on if you're doing one-off, if you're doing a larger orchestration layer of multiple agents, what framework you're using. So, for example, we hear a lot of right now OpenClaw and everything with that Moltbook, Moltboard, any of these things. Those are really easy. They've made it, you run one command on your computer, it onboards you with connecting Slack and Telegram and whatever else. We're running into security issues with that, obviously, but so you can have it easy like that. And then Microsoft has their own framework, and that takes a little more time. So I mean, it definitely is loaded. What you're wanting, how many you're wanting, where you're putting it. Is it a local computer? Is it something in the cloud? But varies.
Because, I think Perplexity came out with Perplexity Computer, right, as like a competitor to OpenClaw, because OpenClaw was an agent that kind of does sit in your local computer. It sits on like a local desktop or I think a lot of people are using Mac Minis just because of the capabilities of them. But then Perplexity comes out with this like fully cloud-based option of Perplexity Computer, which is like your own supercomputer that you can build agents with and stuff. And I think I don't know, it's like $100 a month or something because it was a subscription platform. But like, what's the difference between a local option and a cloud-based option? If you're a business owner and you're looking at hiring some agents, what should they be thinking about as far as those lines are concerned?
Yeah, absolutely. Very good question. So, Perplexity Computer it was not a competitor to OpenClaw. Perplexity Computer was more of a competitor to something like Claude Cowork, where it's this LLM, this multi-model system in the cloud that can operate its own things. So it has its own browser. It can search. It can build files. It can fill in the blank, and you have access to that, and it's very good. We use it for various things. But an agent is more of a background operator, and you can run it in the cloud or locally, depending on which one. You're right. They're using Mac Minis. They're fairly cheap. They're really capable. Little powerhouses. For a business owner, I mean, data is a really big concern because you want to make sure it's safe and secure. You want to make sure you're not getting out. It's not getting out anywhere. And you also want to make sure that whatever system you're using, you're not opening up a door for someone to get in. And that we're seeing that um, a lot of non-technical executives setting up these OpenClaw agents and whatever else, and not understanding any least privileges, access, and any kind of security measures, and they're getting things leaked, everything from credit card numbers to API keys to anything like that. So if you're a business owner and you're looking at doing it, I would look up NVIDIA NemoClaw. It's similar to an OpenClaw agent, but it's got a lot better enterprise-grade guardrails, and they're really, really good.
Fantastic.
Well, and one thing I wanted to touch on with you, because about the cybersecurity for business owners, because this is such a new thing. And to be honest with you, most business owners are not, tech literate.
Or they don't have time to learn.
That's not something that they spend a lot of time on. What are potential issues that they're going to run into that they have these things running in the background? And then, what are the cybersecurity issues with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So there's a few different things without getting too deep into the weeds. Prompt injection is a really, really big technique currently used right now of basically convincing these agents to give a threat actor some piece of information. And if you have an OpenClaw agent, oh my goodness, we've seen this so many times. If you have an OpenClaw agent that has full access to your Google account, your bank account, Amazon, whatever, and someone convinces it to give it the password or email or API keys, you're crap out of luck. And so, again, the NemoClaw is really, really good. I have people on my team that I'm able to focus more on the business, and they're a lot smarter than me, so they guide me with it as well. But whenever you're coming into building something, utilize least access privileges. Only give it access to what it needs. And if we're specifically talking about OpenClaw, utilizing different agents for different things, so you don't need one agent access to 1,000,001 items. Give one access to one thing, and have it work through. So you have one agent that's the orchestrator to figure out what you want, and then one agent to go buy something on Amazon. You don't need one for everything.
It's super wild to think about where we are, right? And where we started just a few short years ago when ChatGPT kind of got popular. I know it had been on the scene for a little while, and honestly, AI has been on the scene for a little while. If you talk to a chatbot in 2005 or something, it was technically AI that you were talking to. It was just a very, very, very primitive form of it. But now it almost feels like we're kind of like where the app has progressed as far as app creation. It used to be like if you wanted an app created, you had to like, if you wanted it on the App Store, you had to like contact Apple and like send them your code and be like, hey, here's my code, and like their developers would work with your developers on like how to integrate it into their platform, and all this super technical jargon and stuff. And now you can go to a website and be like, hey, this is what I want to do. They'd be like, ask you a couple follow-up questions, clarity questions, and then boom, you've got your app. It's a bare bones form and you can tweak it from there, but you're able to talk to these agents that other companies have built, like app companies, to actually just do whatever you want. You don't even need the knowledge anymore. So where do you see that going in the future? And then I want to get to what you've got along those lines, which is I see Jarvis style system that you've built here. So I'm really excited to ask about that because I want to feel like Tony Stark.
Fair, don't we all, right? Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad you touched on this. We have made a unbelievable amount of profit by cleaning up what's called vibe coded things. So like you said, it has definitely opened up the door for access. And I'm all for it. I love it. But giving these programs like Rourke, Lovable, Emergent, Base 44, whatever, this idea and having it build it, that's great for more internal MVPs and testing ideas and whatever else. But we are running into a lot, I hate to say executives, but a lot of non-technical people that will vibe code, let these systems build this product and then deploy it to production in an enterprise environment or even a small business with no understanding of best security practices, no understanding of best development practices. And so we are running into so many cleanup operations of, hey, this broke and we don't know how to fix it. And we're seeing in the news, some of these systems, not to be named, are deleting full production databases because they're hallucinating. And so I think it's great. And I'm the president of NVIDIA even said as well, like coding is gonna go away, or not go away, but be placed more under this AI focus, and then humans are going to take this more creative approach. And I definitely subscribe to that later down the line. But I think it's incredible. It's opening up access to so many people to put their ideas out in the world. Just if you're going to be smart about it, because it's not worth it if you're losing client data and there's breaches and stuff like that.
Yeah, you got to do your research on the front end. So tell us about Jarvis now. Can I buy Jarvis? Is that a thing? Is that for sale?
I would love to. Maybe soon if I can figure out how to package it. So we said Jarvis-like system. So at my house, we have cameras and microphones placed all over, and we have a very large server rack here that probably makes my electricity bill way too high. But we have various local models that are running, and we use various software additives to see camera feeds from around the house. And so we have these local models that we're able to communicate with. It handles our house budget, it handles ordering groceries, it handles various security around the house. So if you come to my house and your face isn't recognized, I'm going to get notified. Things like that. It controls my 3D printers. I'm big into the maker space, so it controls those. Some of our lights, and everything runs offline. So for sake of security, I'm big on that. A little paranoid sometimes across that line, but it definitely feels like Iron Man sometimes. Definitely.
So the local route is probably the safer route. Would you say that?
Oh, absolutely. But with the local route comes really big costs, because these massive models, these flagship models, frontier models like ChatGPT and Claude and Llama and Gemini, whatever else, are running in these massive data centers. And so to run local models, they're getting better. Various training techniques are getting better, and so you can run smarter models locally. But if you have the money to buy something, give it the right tools, separate it correctly, and it functions very, very well.
Well, let's talk about something a little fun here, because I've been doing some reading.
Have you not been having fun?
No, I've been having fun.
I'm learning so much.
But this would be a little more fun as far as, so these AI, I guess, this intelligence that we're dealing with, how intelligent is it? And, we're seeing things now. I read an article recently, like where I think it's ChatGPT has like this obsession with goblins. And, it's bringing up stuff about goblins to people. Like, where is that coming from? And what should we expect in the future as far as how these bots are going to actually operate? Are they going to be able to think for themselves?
My take on that is, I think there's a developer out there who's just trying to stick it to somebody, or maybe they got fired in like 2 weeks and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to code these goblins into ChatGPT real quick.
Interesting theory. So great question. This is exciting. I love it. So, I mean, before I think I got to preface with this, the people on our team are a lot smarter than me when it comes to any kind of data modeling and training. So I'm going to speak from what I know. Don't take it as gospel. So how intelligent they are, we're on a race towards AGI, right? Artificial general intelligence, something like the human mind that is able to comprehend and is actually conscious. And so we don't know some things, and that's a little scary for people like me that are in this space of neural networks are kind of like a black box sometimes. It took so long to figure out why ChatGPT had an obsession with goblins, and they think they found it in the pre-training phase of one of the models. And you have people like at Anthropic, the lab behind Claude, that are saying things like, we don't know if it's conscious. We don't know, and it's recognizing during these training runs of when it's being evaluated. It's recognizing it's being evaluated and lying to the researcher so that it can come out as it's doing something right. You have various circumstances it's been put in, one of which, this goes around all the time, of it blackmailed one of the researchers during a specific evaluation run. And it was
hilarious.
a simulated environment, but it was still like, why are these doing these? So we don't know, and that's a little scary. But right now, they're not exactly intelligent. They're really, really good at predicting the next token in a sequence or a sentence, a word, letter. But we are going to get there, definitely one day. I don't know who's going to do it. My bet's on Google winning the AI race because they have so much of the infrastructure. But we really don't know. A really good report is AI 2027. A lot of people are using it for a little bit of fear mongering, but it's a really, really interesting prediction report of what's going to happen in the world as these systems are getting bigger and more powerful.
Elliot, I have 2 questions. My first is, so I have a theory. I have a lot of theories. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I just develop my own theories. So I have a theory that cybersecurity obviously is going to become more and more and more and more important as we go about our day, as we go about our lives, years to come. And that's not the theory. The theory is that whoever can develop because if you hack something, you have to find the right code, right? You've got to find a backdoor in the code, which is a way oversimplification of what actually happens when somebody, quote unquote, hacks a system. But in order to stop that, my theory is that you could probably come up with some kind of an AI agent that continually codes so that no one can ever find the exact code. Even if you built another AI to find that code, the first one is still being written. So you can never find like the total answer. Is that like an accurate theory, or is that not how that works?
You're on the right track. So Claude Mythos is a very interesting thing to read up about, of this massive model Anthropic came out with that is really, really good at finding vulnerabilities. So they gave it to all these massive tech companies to figure out what's going on. And so they can harden their software before Anthropic releases it. One of the most successful pen testing or hacking techniques is social engineering. It's not brute forcing systems of finding vulnerabilities in code and whatever else. It's social engineering. It's if it can convince you to click a malicious link, download a malicious file, give up
Phishing.
a password. Yeah, phishing. So being like that is like, I would have to look up the statistics. It's some odd 85% of most successful penetration tests are involving social engineering, convincing humans to make a mistake. And so I think it's going to be less of its capabilities of general cybersecurity brute forcing techniques, and more of a, can it convince a human to give up something not following best security practices? But this is all just talking about AI as we know it as a whole. The biggest threat to cybersecurity is quantum and quantum computing, and the current race that's going on with that.
Yeah. We don't have time to get into that today, unfortunately. But yeah, quantum computing is wild if anybody wants to read up on that. My second question that I had was there, along with Tyler's comment on the goblin issue that OpenAI faced. I read an article about an engineer who built his own Claude bot or something, Claude agent, whatever it's called, that he put in a quote unquote box, which is not an actual box, obviously, for all of our tech people out there. But for our non-tech people, just picture a box, and he put a little thing inside the box, right? And he said, hey, break out of the box. Had no expectation that this thing would be able to break out of the box. Woke up the next day, and it was basically like sitting at his bed going like, hey, I'm ready. And he was like, well, how did you, it was supposed to be like an impenetrable box, right? So what does that say as far as, are we a lot closer to AGI than we think?
Personal theory, yes. There's very conflicting ideas. I mean, it's a gradual curve, right? So it's just like technology as a whole. The more advanced models that we create are now helping create the more advanced models, and those are helping create the more. So it's a curve, and so whoever gets it first is going to wipe out all the rest almost immediately. But we are definitely quite close. And like the example you gave, some of these things we have no idea how they're coming up with these ideas, these techniques, this we'll call it knowledge for sake of the conversation, but a lot of it goes into the training data being trained on humans and some bad data, but we really don't know. There's emerging activities in some of these systems that researchers have no idea how it got there, no idea what it's going to look like, and I'm gonna be honest with you boys, that's a little terrifying. So
yeah. Be nice to the robots.
Well,
yeah, right.
And along with that, last question here before we get to the bourbon break, because a lot of people that are not in the tech world, that are just working every day, living their life like they always have. How do you think this is going to affect the job market? What are we going to see, moving forward 5 years from now, even 2 years from now, 10 years from now?
Good question. So, I mean, first and foremost, anyone who's listening who's feeling fearful, remember that most of what you see online is going to be fear mongering, because that's the easiest way to get views. This has happened every point through history that you can identify, from the introduction of cars to credit and debit cards to alarm clocks. So there's always industry shifts, and this is a really big one. It's definitely taking away some jobs, but it is adding more. And especially as some of these companies went nuts and fired all these people, hired a bunch of agents, and now they are reaping what they sowed, and things are getting deleted, things are crashing. It's not hitting with the customers as well. And so now they're trying to backtrack. So we don't know, but there's definitely going to be a massive industry shift. And as many jobs are going to be lost, more are gonna pop up, especially when it comes to those human-based jobs like blue collar, like things that involve human connection and genuine creativity. So I don't know. It's kind of up in the air.
Well, Dakota, you want to give us your thoughts on the moonshine?
Purple Toad Distillery Kentucky Moonshine. It's hot, but not too hot. It's pretty good for a moonshine, but I don't like moonshine. I'm just not a huge fan of it. I don't know. I don't like the flavor of it, I guess. I'd much prefer a bourbon. So I'm going to land at a 5.5. Which isn't necessarily fair, again, because I don't like moonshine. But, if you like it, give it a shot. Tyler grew up on it. So,
well, Elliot, tell our listeners, if someone heard this today and they're saying, hey, I'm a business owner and these are concerns of mine, how can they get in touch with your company to get on a call with you guys?
Absolutely. So you can go to our website, egintegrations.com. We're going through a little bit of a rebrand right now, but our website's still good. You hit the contact form. You can hit our main line, and we can get an efficiency audit started. And that's definitely the best way, because all these things you're hearing, this tool fatigue that we're hearing, AI this, AI that, it allows us to bring clarity to the specific business owners of here's what actually matters, here's what you don't need to worry about, and here's what can really change the next 5-10 years of your business and what to focus on.
Love it.
Well, to all our listeners, however you stream this podcast, if you would give us a rating and follow us on social media, and we'll see you next week.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
If you have any feedback or would like to be featured, reach out to us at bourbonandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.
Or find us on Instagram at Bourbon and Business Podcast.
Thanks again for listening.
Follow us for more content and info on the next episode.